Coily Diaries back with another video. In this video, we're talking high porosity hair and I'm sharing my top tips for caring for high porosity hair. You guys know I've done quite a few videos talking about type 4 kinky coily textured women have got mostly high porosity hair. If you haven't seen those videos, go check those out so you can understand, I guess, the context in which I speak. However, in this video, I just wanted to share with you guys some of the top tips that I have when it comes to caring for high porosity so that your hair thrives, so that your hair becomes more manageable, and so that you actually enjoy looking after your hair, okay? So if you're interested, keep watching. All right, so before we get into the tips, I just wanted to quickly share some of the characteristics of high porosity hair. And I think this is important because this really determines how you end up looking after your hair. I know a lot of people say porosity is a non-issue for them, you know, it doesn't change how they look after their hair. I tend to think different. That's fine if that's how things are for you, no problem with that. But I have found that looking after my hair is really determined, you know, largely by porosity, not completely by porosity, but a huge chunk of how I look after my hair is really based on its porosity. The structure of our hair, simply by being coily, is prone to damage. Every bend, every curl represents a weak spot. You know that, we've been hearing that forever, so I don't need to grill you on that. Also, understanding that each curl actually represents a lifted cuticle. So you're actually dealing with quite a few lifting of the cuticle, quite a bit of lifting of the cuticle throughout the hair shaft. So as you can imagine, more tangles, more friction, you know, yeah, a little bit tricky detangling, etc. Simply because of the nature of the coiliness, and also a raised cuticle just means that, you know, there's more chances for this to happen. So of course, that leads me to say that that would predispose high porosity hair to more damage, or quicker or easier damage than, say, low porosity hair. Also, I understand that high porosity cuticles are thin in and of themselves, and there's fewer cuticles. That means that there's easier access to the mid shaft of the hair. That means that you don't have as much protection. For example, if you're going to use heat, you need to really be careful. So just having a thinner cuticle and a cuticle that has got less layers, or cuticles with less layers, means that the hair is vulnerable when compared to porosity hair, low porosity hair. I've spoken about gaps within the cuticle. Science has shown that high porosity hair has got gaps within the shaft. That's why we need quite a bit of protein, if you are a high porosity girl, to go and fill in those gaps and strengthen your hair. So the gaps make it so that high porosity hair is more fragile. And as you can imagine, the raised cuticle also means that our hair dries easier, okay? That's why you see a lot of us use a lot of heavy products, a lot of creams, butters, etc., because we're trying to close that cuticle, because it's simply prone to being open. So it takes in lots of moisture, fine, but then it releases that moisture just as fast and is prone to dryness. So those are some of the main characteristics of high porosity hair. Now let's come to the care of high porosity hair. And I just want to kick off by saying, a lot of people say that they're protein sensitive, and I understand this because it is true. Some people have a more intense reaction to protein, okay? Maybe hardening of the hair, or brittleness, sometimes even breakage, okay, with protein. Now, a lot of people say, I'm protein sensitive, I'm not going to use protein. And I would say, if you're protein sensitive, that simply means that your hair is taking on a lot of protein, or like needs quite a bit of protein. And of course, both those two characteristics are indicative of high porosity hair, which in and of itself needs protein. So if you're protein sensitive, instead of quitting protein, just use protein in small amounts, and, you know, the right proteins, etc. I've done videos in detail, going in detail, guys, about this topic, so go check those out. But if you are protein sensitive, you must not stop using protein. You just need to know how to, because you actually might need protein more than someone that's not protein sensitive. Manipulation is one thing that we can't avoid as curly naturals. This is something that we all deal with at one stage or the other. If you're not manipulating your hair, as in detangling every week, as in a wash and go natural, and you are protective styling for months on end, and then, you know, taking down your style after 2 or 3 months, you will still have to detangle quite intensely at that takedown. So it's either you pay for the detangling, you pay with the time now, or you pay later. Either way, yeah, we do actually have to still invest that time to detangle our hair. Now with high porosity, as I've said already, the cuticle is raised. The bands represent a raised cuticle. The nature of coily hair just means that you're dealing with a lot of tangling. In order for high porosity hair to thrive, you actually need to minimize manipulation as much as possible. How do you do that? Girl, I don't know. Like, choose your poison. Do you want to be a straight natural? Do you want to be a wash and go natural? Do you want to protective style your hair more? Do you just want to wear synthetic less protective styles and just bun your hair up and tuck your ends in? Whatever you do, focus on minimizing manipulation. If you're a curly natural, I would encourage trying being a twisted natural or a braided natural or a cornrow natural. That way you're not dealing with your hair every single wash day, as in detangling. So you can wash, deep condition your hair within those styles without needing to detangle, okay? And after a month or so, then you can take it down, detangle, etc. That skips weekly detangles and hopefully saving you some length or some breakage, saving you from enduring breakage during those times. So that's just an example of how you can minimize the amount of times that you are in your hair, detangling your hair or manipulating your hair. Also, like switching up styles here and there, that's not something I would encourage for high porosity. Simply, you actually want to just let your hair chill out. It's a little bit like fine natural hair. It doesn't like a lot of things done to it. You actually need to just be quite minimalistic with it for it to thrive. So minimize manipulation. Cleansing. When cleansing high porosity hair, I do encourage people obviously to use a moisturizing or hydrating shampoo, number one. Number two, do a lot of downward strokes. You want to do this when you're washing your hair. You don't want to go like this. Don't do that when you're washing your hair, because that's really just going to agitate the cuticle, raise it even more, create tangles, knotting, etc. So do work in downward motions with whatever you're doing, conditioning, shampooing, moisturizing, whatever. Downward motions to reduce tangles and also to encourage that cuticle to close. Another idea here is to try and, if your hair is extremely tangled, detangle the hair before you shampoo it, because once you shampoo, the matting that's going to be in there, not good. So if you're coming, say, from a long-term protective style, for example, I would pre-detangle my hair. That way it's nice and tangle-free before adding a shampoo, because shampoos can actually increase the tangling in the hair. Treatments. When it comes to treatments, it's mainly two things: moisture, protein. They're non-negotiable, okay? They're non-negotiable. I mean this, like, you cannot get away with just one or the other. Both need to happen. So I encourage high porosity naturals to to deep condition their hair every wash day without fail. So if you wash monthly, fortnightly, whatever, you're deep conditioning with every wash. If you're washing monthly or longer, 6 weeks, whatever, also do a protein treatment then with every wash day. So every month or every 6 weeks or so, do a protein treatment as well. I've shared videos of what I call true proteins and proteins that are probably a little bit, I guess, better for protein sensitive people. Go check those videos out to get some ideas on, proteins or products, or maybe just what to look for in a product. However, you must not neglect the hair in this regard. If you're not doing your protein treatments, your hair becomes weak, you endure breakage, okay? That's when you see, oh, my hair is not retaining length, there's little pieces on the floor of hair, breakage, your hair is weak. So the minute you touch it, it's just crumbling. There's no protein within the spaces in the hair shaft to give it strength, right? Same thing with moisture. Dry hair, brittle hair breaks. Like, moisture is the backbone of natural hair, whether you're low porosity, high porosity, whatever. You can't, I'll share about glycerin here. We don't need to get into that, but you must learn how to you must deep condition your hair, and you must protein treat your hair often. Detangling. This needs to be a meticulous, very calculated process for high porosity naturals. You're not just going willy-nilly, just doing whatever. It's planned, there's a process to it. So because high porosity hair naturally has a raised cuticle, I would really encourage you to explore dry detangling, because when your hair is dry, it's strongest, one, and also the cuticle is more closed than when it's wet. So I would do the majority of my detangling with dry hair or on dry hair, and then if you want to wet detangle, then go ahead and do that. If you're someone who uses combs, yeah, go for it with caution, but if you can use your fingers and eliminate combs, I would really encourage that for my high porosity people. I've done a video in detail how to dry detangle, the things to consider. Your hair must be moisturized, must be lubricated, and must be stretched as well. So these things need to all be present in order for you to dry detangle successfully, okay? Moisturize the day or 2 days before you're going to detangle, okay? So you don't want to moisturize today and then dry detangle. The hair is going to be wet, so you don't want to dry detangle in wet hair. That's not dry detangling. So moisturize your hair, really hydrate it, and stretch it, and also lubricate it, okay? And then if you're wet detangling, do it in sections, lots and lots of slip. Be gentle with both of these methods, gentle downward strokes. Take your time, patience. Fingers are really great because you can actually go in there and actually separate the hair, okay? You don't want to just rip through the hair like this because it's already fragile. So length retention might be a little bit tricky if you're a curly, high porosity natural, okay? But of course, there's ways to get around it. Moisturizing, moidration, hydration, moisturizing, both need to be present. So you're hydrating, you're moisturizing your hair with lots of humectants, you're sealing your hair with a lot of heavy oils, heavy creams, heavy butters. High porosity loves that heaviness in order for the cuticle to be weighed down and close itself with the products. Some people use gels to help the cuticle closed. You can also use pH, like an apple cider spritz, to close your cuticle if that's, you know, what's working for you. And of course, humectants like aloe, honey, glycerin should be at the top of the list in your leave-in conditioners, okay? Those really, really hydrate your hair and keep your hair hydrated for longer. A lot of people say, oh, you know, high porosity hair needs me to moisturize it every day. I've got high porosity hair and I can go for 2 weeks without needing to moisturize my hair in its curly state. And I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. That's probably not practical for everybody, but consider maybe moisture training your hair. I've done a video on moisture training, have a look. But yeah, once I put my glycerin, I think the glycerin is key, because then like throughout the week, it's just re-moisturizing the hair with the moisture that's in the atmosphere. So your hair remains soft and moisturized for longer periods. If you're finding that glycerin is not working for you, aloe might be an alternative. Or if you need to moisturize your hair more often, do it, okay? If the weekly or every fortnight is not working for you for moisturizing, moisturize as often as you need to, okay? Until your hair gets to a place where it can go a little bit longer, okay? So that's my tips on moisturizing. Now, I've already spoken about this lightly, but sealing the hair is pretty crucial. 4 ways. You're using your heavy creams, your heavy oils, your heavy butters. They weigh the hair down and help the cuticle down. You can also use the pH, like I've said. A lower pH helps to close the cuticle. Apple cider spritz, I've shared a video talking about, you know, ways of sealing your hair. And then you can also use manually, like you guys might not really understand this, but as you do this, you're manually actually closing or sealing the cuticle and encouraging it down, or encouraging it closed. Another option that I am, learning about is actually using heat to close the cuticle. I speak about how heat opens and closes the cuticle, but here I'm talking about heat in a more literal sense. So flat ironing, a lot of straight naturals talk about how their hair stays moisturized because once you flat iron it, the moisture is locked in quite effectively. It's pretty much like making your hair low porosity because the heat actually just makes the cuticle lie down for longer periods, okay? And I know that a lot of brands, I think Dyson and even Time will talk about having tools that actually help you lock in moisture by closing that cuticle. So this is not something that I am very familiar with, but I know that people have spoken about it and they say that that has helped them. I don't have experience really with flat ironing my hair, so I can't really speak to that. But if you're someone that wears your hair straight, that might be something you want to explore. Protective styling. I encourage people to protective style their hair, even if they're high porosity. High porosity also needs a break from the manipulation, the detangling, the constant, styling and touching of the hair. The only trick here is to make sure that the style is installed well and removed well, and the care of it in between is also on point. There is no negotiation about that. There's no two ways about it. And of course, you want to choose styles that really work well for you. You don't want to put in styles that maybe are too tight, or styles that might cause breakage or excessive amounts of breakage or dryness, or maybe styles that don't allow you to access your hair that well. And I know this is tricky, overall with protective styles, but try and select a style that will still allow you to look after your own hair while protective styling, okay? Of course, protective styling with your own hair, that's going to be recommended because the drying effects, the heaviness, the tension, etc. of synthetic hair is instantly eliminated. But I know that's not that doesn't work for everybody. So if you do want to use extensions, you can use them, but proceed with caution. Maybe take it down earlier, be a little bit more gentler, more patient with your takedown, and ensure that the installation is done well. No pulling, no tugging, no tension, no tight styles, no. Finally, I just want to talk about protection. So protection in the sense of sun protection. Because high porosity hair already has an open cuticle, when exposed to heat or sun particularly, some research has actually shown that the cuticle opens up even more, okay? So this can really just mess your hair up unknowingly. So if you're gonna go out for a walk, it's hot, if you're gonna be at the beach for prolonged periods of time, etc., take a hat, wear a hat. That's the first and recommended, best solution to the issue of, heat, as in UV heat. Another idea is to use a sunscreen. So I've done a video sharing with you guys some ideas around sunscreens for hair. Go check that out. But that's also an option if you're going to be in the sun for long. And of course, just protective styles like a wig like this one, having braids or a weave or crochet or something, that automatically protects you from the sun, okay? Protects the hair from the sun. So if you have a protective style on, then you're good. Girl, I hope you found this helpful. I hope you find some tips that will help you, look after your hair a little bit better. Comment below whatever your top tips are for looking after high porosity hair. Until next time, it's Coily Diaries. Bye.